With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
It's a great evening here at Twin Ring Motegi Speedway in Japan. Welcome to the PRL F3 Series. I'm Terry Radford, joined by Derek Watson here this afternoon. Derek, it's going to be a great day watching some F3 cars come around here as qualifying just went underway.
That's right, qualifying's underway. And in fact, this track is changing by the year, it feels like. In fact, in iRacing, we call it Twin Ring Motegi. But nowadays, you would know it as Mobility Resort Motegi in real life as of March 1st, 2022. So welcome in, everybody, here watching along on RaceSpot. I'm excited to see how this season plans out. 2 more races left, Harry.
Yeah, 2 more races to go as we take a look here at the schedule. And Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or MoSport as they like to call it, started our season, and we're the second to last race at Twin Ring Motegi before we go to RaceSpotTV Motor Center, where we go to May 25th for the championship finale. It's been a very interesting season. You take a look at the point standings. The championship battle's not over like I thought it was before we went. Julio Palacio leads. Ozzie Milwane here 364 to 357. Andrew Moran still having a little bit of a fight with Kevin McPherson, Neil Alexander, and Lucas Hill down there in a tie, and it's a 3-way fight or 4-way fight from 5th on back. Be interested to see how this shakes up between the top 2 contenders here as we look at the team championship point standings, where there's still a fight over here as well.
Yeah, we'll bring the point standings up here for the teams. Of course, Yellow Stripe Motorsport Black already got that all locked up. 100 and almost 30-point lead there over Atomic Racing. Then you got Island Autosport 527, Speedworks Racing Team Esport 519. That's a close battle. It's only 8 points. Yellow Stripe Motorsport Gold 498. They're kind of in that battle. There'd be a lot of work though. Then you got Parabola Midnight, Atomic Red Panda, Evolve Sim Sports, Parabola Cobalt, and then Knox E Motorsports hanging on there in the top 10.
It'd be interesting to see how all of this shakes down, as we got to thank all of our partners here as soon as I pull up my Google spreadsheet, but I can wing this one, and I think I will. You can go to if you want the best type of sim rig, go to advancedsimrig.com. You can use promo code I think it's Precision 5, and you could use the Precision 5 coupon code for 15% off at checkout.
And of course, we saw that amazing advanced sim racing video with that motion rig to start the broadcast off. And we were both kind of talking quietly how jealous we were. We think we'd both like to have one of those.
Yeah, we'd definitely love to have one. Would be one of my favorite highlights of the afternoon.
I'd settle for just the monitor in that video, but the whole rig would be amazing as well.
Yeah, I'd be a big fan. I'm all for it. Well, I've got the note. So it's owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulating cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. And from Advanced to Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid to high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, for the casual gaming up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to their sim racing setup. You can visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount code using Precision 5. We'll go to the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker provides an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourselves in the driver's seat. And Mecha Hardware is new. It's a Czech Republic company. I don't have that in my notes, but we'll wing that one. You can go check them out at Mecha PRLhardware.com today. And Moradness. Go check them out as well. A proud partner with the PRL this season. And NinjaTrader. You can track your performance in stocks, brokerage, and everything at ninjatrader.com. And as my buddy Joey Tebben likes to say, it's perfect that's last because we can track the performance of the race car drivers as qualifying is in fact underway here this afternoon with Julio Palacio leading the charge at the moment with the 142.545. That is 1/10 exactly over Ozzie Milwayne, his championship competitor. Derek, if Ozzie Milwayne wants to win this championship, he needs to find a 10th to win this pole.
Yeah, of course, winning the pole is important in the point standing, so that is a thing to consider. So we'll wait to see how long he waits to maybe do an amazing lap or how he wants to get it done. But you see Ozzie Milwayne there, as you said, just close. There's Michael Dowden, by the way, one of those people we talked about back in the point standings. Currently got a 142.936 on that run. You see him going around here around this beautiful track.
He gets to turn 14 right there, gets loose off the exit. Yeah. That was scary off the 14th corner and go down this very long straightaway. Didn't pick up any time there. He was taking Stephen Larkamp. He'll put himself there. He's 8th currently. See if he can improve here as he comes to the line. It looks like this time's going to be just a little bit faster. He put a 43, 42, got a 143.0. It's going to move him up one spot to 7th. As we take a look at Connor Harrington, he's not going to put any more times down. And there's Ozzie Milwayne. Can he find the 10th of a second here that he's looking for to jump Julio Palacio and potentially steal this point to go one step closer for this championship with 2 races to go?
Listen, Ozzie's a talented driver, so he can do this multiple ways. But if I was Ozzie Milwayne, I think I'm lined up in the wrong order there, Terry. I'd want to be behind that car, pulling a small draft and see what I could do. But here we see him now getting down to the line here. That's not the line. Sorry, that's a gridding area, but not the line we're looking for. He's on a good pace here.
He comes down the hill in the tight corner. Very, very light brake. Easy to turn. Don't want to oversteer, and he just turns it in the wall. He made a mistake, and he just cowabungas that, and he goes rolling back onto the racetrack. There is the current pole sitter at the time. He comes through turn 14, and can he improve on his time that he set down? And no. He'll go just a little bit slower, but the pace is there. You see the current. I mean, he was right on top of what his fastest time was, so there's a lot of pace in Julio Palacio's car.
You know what I like what Julio's done so far there, Terry, is he went out and set a pace early in this qualifying run. He's now let Ozzie Milwayne know what the pace, what the baseline is here. So now he can kind of be a little more relaxed, maybe set a new time, but Ozzie's the one under pressure. Listen, they're 13 points apart with 2 races to go. Ozzie closed the gap a little bit last week when we were over at Imola, or whatever other track name you want to use for it that, gets popularized. But, it can happen again. But obviously, as you said, the pole is important. Where you start is important. But yeah, here's Roberts Ridgeway here. Good time. Let's see. That's an improvement. That's about a 10th of a second improvement, or a little more than a 10th of a second for Ridgeway there. Good job there.
Picks up just a little bit there. And the most interesting part of this racetrack is how much speed is here. You see Jake Potts, he's getting a little bit of a tow down the straightaway. It's going to pick up his time just by 0.2 of a second. It'll move him up 2 spots. So 0.2 equals 2 spots here so far, up to 12th for Mr. Potts. Ozzie Milwayne still sitting on pit road. He's not going to come back out and set a time. So it looks unless any of the drivers who are on the racetrack right now, maybe a Stephen Veraday, a Michael Dowden, Blake Zitzi, if any of those drivers can jump up, as Raymond Doe, he's going to come across the line, not going to set a faster time. Dowden can get his time in since he crossed the start-finish line at a respectable time. He has to pick up 0.4 of a second to jump himself up there. Can he find it on this very long 14-turn road course?
Yeah, and as I said, important. Remember, he's in that 3 or 4-way battle there in the middle of the top 10. So obviously, he wants to do well in his qualifying and start as well as possible at this track here. This track is very interesting. Obviously, it has the oval. You'll see that we're going to come under the oval a couple times throughout this course where that bridge is. That oval's been used a few times by NASCAR, IndyCar, kart, and others. You know, what I find interesting about this track is that, yeah, we road course race here. We're here for the F3 races. We've done other stuff, but you know, this track is most commonly a MotoGP course.
Yeah, and it's a very intriguing MotoGP course, as you actually do see the oval in the distance right here, famously known as Danica Patrick's one win in IndyCar. As you look at Corey Precker right here, currently sitting 14th in the number 35 machine, going to see if he could finish his lap here, coming through the final sectors of the track. Can he pick up from his 143.5? He comes down to go under the bridge for the final time. Looks to be tracking just a little bit better. He slowed down 0.3 of a second with a 143.848. I don't think Dowden's lap is going to count here. Not 100% sure if he actually crossed the line with time still remaining, but we'll find out when he crosses it.
You know, you mentioned the Danica win in the oval. I think to me, the more obscure win for the oval side is Mike Skinner winning the NASCAR Cup race that happened there. In 98, I think.
That is a good one, because I believe this is where you had a picture of senior and junior in the Coca-Cola cars that was out here in Twin Wing Motegi in Japan. So a lot of history and backstories could be filled here, but the road course is famously known worldwide as. Dowden didn't pick up, but he was 2 seconds slower on the last lap. But this lap, he was about a couple hundredths off of his fastest time to try to improve. So the pace has stayed in the racetrack, Derek. It hasn't went away, even with a little bit of heat in the track, rubber being laid down from practice into qualifying. And we potentially are going to see a really quick race. If these is the times all the way through, we're in for a treat.
We are in for a treat. The course is a 45-minute race. So they do technically have a lap count, or 45 minutes for most races. I think we just hit the timer first. But yeah, this is really good here. So I think qualifying is over. So Terry, if you want to take us to the start of the grid, I think we're ready to go.
Yeah, let's take a look at our driver lineup here. As it will be Julio Palacio taking the point and extending his lead by 1 here this afternoon as he sets his pole time with Ozzie Milwane to the outside. Connor Harrington will put off our number 3, row 2. Andrew Moran, P4. Stephen Veraday in 5th, with Michael Dowden rounding out row 3. We kick back down to row 4, where you can find Stephen Larkamp, and then Blake Zitzi to his outside. Robert Ridgway and Lucas Hill rounds out row 5, with Max Shabley and Jake Potts in row 6. Row 7, you're going to find Eric Dubé and Corey Precker, with Brett Thurman and Takeshi Kita, who is a very sneaky driver and hadn't had the luck this season, in 16th, with Kevin McPherson and Raymond Doe in 18th. Richard Swindells and Evan Jones is 19th to 20th. Gavin Ray, Neil Alexander rounds out 22nd. Austin Harris and Ryan Reeves, 23rd and 24th, respectively. And rounding out your field here this afternoon, Bobby Cochran and James Carter. That's my Georgia buddy, by the way. James O'Brien and Drew DeWeese will round out your 28-car field here this afternoon. We'll wait for those lights to turn green for us to get the start. Derek, who do you think are we going to watch to win this race as we still wait for Julio Palacio to get his butt on the grid?
I think it's Ozzie. You know what? I was thinking in my head for a second. Ozzie gave up early on the qualifying run. Do you think maybe Ozzie's knows something that we don't know about starting second? Maybe he wants that preferred line or something? And here we go, though.
Well, we're green flag racing. Maybe you're right. Maybe Ozzie wanted to start on the inside as they start to fan out back there like cockroaches when you turn the light on. We'll see as they come through turns 1. They're side by side for 3rd. You're fanning out for 4th, for 5th, all the way back to the last place position. Drivers looking to get the driver's advantage on the left and the right, but not many positions changed so far. We're clean and green as we continuously roll through here in the first couple sectors of this track.
Yeah, clean and green, as you said. No, everything's good all as far back as I can see, but notice it was already a single file line. Didn't take us long here to see. There you go, under the bridge. This right-hander. Man, they're just close together already.
well, you put the best two drivers in this field, and that's obviously Julio and Ozzy. These two have been right on top of each other all season long, but Connor Harrington's put himself right there. We'll see if this short run pace can play off for a lot of these drivers, or is the long run going to be the game that we're going to play here this afternoon? Pit stops have to be a factor as well. This is an easier pit lane, but still tricky in its own right. As we've gotten through half of this track so far, Palacio still holds this race lead, but is Ozzy just back there potentially saving those tires to set himself up? As here comes Connor Harrington. He went to take a look, and well, he's going to tuck back in line.
Yeah, he did think about it and decided maybe that wasn't the right corner to make his move, or that he kind of would wait and see here. I mean, obviously, as you said, Ozzy could be saving tires. He could be saving. He definitely is saving some gas. Not probably. He is saving gas by being that back in line. But I think he's just biding his time. These guys fought hard last week up through the end of the race. There's this respect here. This isn't a case of anything more than that. I think where they both know what talent each other has. And let's wait and see here. When you can make that move. But now we come down this long straightaway. There it is.
He pulls out here. He's going to go to the outside, try to take the long way around in the corner. He'll set himself up, not for this corner. He's actually going to lose a position to Harrington. I was thinking for a second if he could hold the outside, he might get a driver's right opportunity right here to set himself up as Connor Harrington takes a peek for the race lead. Thanks otherwise. He tried that move earlier before they got to the Bridgestone Bridge with Ozzy Milwain, and it didn't pay off. He waited for Ozzy to jump to the outside of Palacio, in which he tried, but that did not pan out for him. And, well, that's one more championship point that's going to go into Palacio's bag since, Milwain's sitting third. That gap in between them, I told you earlier, it needed a flip-flop. He needed Palacio to finish third or fourth and him to win this race for him to jump in here and take command of this championship.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. But as you said, he tried to make a move. Not sure if he thought more people would follow him and provide that little bit of a draft, or he just was surprised that Harrington, pulled ahead. But now we're seeing Andrew Moran's kind of putting the peekaboo in there.
You kind of take a look here as Ozzy's going to play the defensive line. He's going to go all the way down to the inside, cover every sector of this racetrack, grab the curb just a little bit to hold Andrew Moran off. This is not a passing sector when you come through turns 13 and 14 right here. No sense of even trying to make that run. You're going to wreck if you try to go side by side through the S's there. But this long straightaway, Connor Harrington actually just put the fastest lap time down. That was a 1:44 as we have a replay with Max Shabley. We'll take a look, see what happened here. Oh,
3 wide.
That doesn't work often into turns 1 and 2.
Doesn't work anywhere if you hit I wonder. I'm guessing that the driver in the middle just didn't know he was 3 wide. That's a more common thing we do in ovals. Where you don't know you're 3 wide, which is scary when you figure that out. But yeah, that's that was just odd contact right there.
Very odd indeed. But now we have a decently sizable battle right here for the 5th place position. Michael Dowden holds it. Veraday wants it. Veraday's going to look to the inside. Had the preferred line. Now it goes back to Dowden. He'll take that left-hander, and we'll switch back to the right-hander here. This is going to be an interesting fight because all of these drivers throughout this field in this fixed setup is on the same setup. It comes down to skill here. And I tell you, last season, when I ran the open wheel cars for the IRO4s, I figured out one thing's for certain. I have more skill up here than I do right here.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to figure out. And we're going to see him trying to make the move here. And he's going to complete the pass through the corner on the outside even.
Oh, that was man, that was a power move, Derek.
That was flexing some muscles there. A little bit of confidence in this track, obviously.
That's definitely a power move there. Dowden taken. I don't know if he maybe backed out of that one. Probably just wanted Veraday to see, maybe just to say, hey, I don't want to wreck. Don't do me dirty here. I don't want to get tore up. But man, what a move.
What a move indeed. Obviously, the big difference we can see in the contrast from last week is how easier of a time these drivers are having. By this time in the race at Imola last week, we'd seen probably 4 or 5 drivers off the track or in a wall having a very hard time here. So obviously this track is wider. The corners have a better transition in and out of them. We're seeing, more cars on track than we did last week. So that's good for these drivers. But this is not a track that has that many passing points. So I think we're going to have to play a pit strategy game here a little bit and see who does it, who undercuts who, who's willing to barely put enough gas in to get there and see what happens, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a good mixture of what we have here. And if you're in the Palacio camp for a second, as we take a look at Corey Precker back here fighting Takeshi Kita for the 10th place position. If you put yourself in his shoes for a second, Ozzy's going to have to short pit at one point in time. He's 1.5 seconds off of our race leader. He's going to have to do something a little different as you continue to see this fight here for the 10th place position. We're going to go on board with Takeshi Kita. He gets a big toe down the hill. Can he make the pass happen as he's going to have the preferred lane? Or is Precker going to hold him out there? Precker's aggressive in the trucks. He's going to keep it stuck there, and he's going to get the preferred line here. Don't, come on, don't wreck. Hey, they held on to it. But somebody's off track. Somebody else is off track.
Yeah, someone else got nervous watching the battle and kind of forgot where they were going, I think.
Just lock the brakes. I'd be okay. The sand, whoever that was didn't hit the tire barriers back there, so the sand trap really didn't do a whole lot. Precker holds on. Precker holds the top 10, so big win there as Takeshi's still going to have to chase him down.
Yeah, definitely is. Of course, this track, well known across the racing universe. In fact, I didn't learn today. This place has a Honda museum at the venue where you can go see some historic Honda vehicles, some prototypes, some old race cars, and race memorabilia. So if you find yourself at the track, you can do that. And there's even I learned there's a cafe here named after Gran Turismo.
Huh. That's an interesting fact. Yeah, I want to take the wife to Japan at some point in time. We got a kid coming, so it's a big thing to maybe go travel and do a little extra stuff. But this is definitely one of the places that I would circle on the list that I want to go watch a race at, whether it is MotoGP or maybe we get IndyCar back out here, or maybe a Grand Prix if we get something race-wise on this road course to see. We go up here and look at Blake Zeedy, currently sitting in the 7th place position. He's getting the chase from Jake Potts. Can Jake make a good run here? They set pretty decent speed throughout the season. Currently sitting there in that 8th place position, and Blake holding a very steady wheel, trying to catch Dowden and Veraday up there 5th and 6th.
It's funny, if you want to go see this track in real life, it's actually not that many great seats here. We talked about the oval and kind of our nerding on our oval side right before the race began, but in fact, because of the oval and how high it is and how much of the road course it blocks, minus those bleachers and those seating we just went by a second ago, there's not a lot of great seating here at the track. In fact, a lot of people don't enjoy watching this race here live because you don't see a whole lot. You end up watching the TV screens if you sit over there above the bridge, and you kind of just see an oval that's doing nothing, actually.
Yeah, I tell you who has the best seat in the house at the moment. It's us, because Connor Harrington got beat for the fastest lap, and then caught the toe of Palacio and then beat him for the fastest lap. So it was a 142.997 for the race leader in the 194, and then it was a 142.949 for our 2nd place driver, and he's closed that gap ever so slightly. It was about 0.7 of a second. He pushed it down to a 0.5 tenth. Now make it 0.4 of a second. That will put Connor behind him. He's got pace. It's just about can he execute on every single level to beat the driver who's just been dominant all season long.
This is a long road course. So these guys have about 2.983 miles to find every advantage or extra speed or draft they can find, and these two right up front are doing it the best so far. I'm surprised Ozzy Milway, now you see on the left side of your screen, back almost 1.5 seconds as of this moment. I mean, anything can still happen. We still have 34 minutes. We're only 10 minutes in. We're seeing fastest lap set. We're seeing passes at 2 wide. We've seen a 3 wide battle. We're only 10 minutes in, Terry.
Yeah, and that equates to 7 laps ish that we've seen here. So not a whole lot of laps have been put down, but you're right. the pace itself has not really come down. I mean, for the race leader, his slowest lap time so far has been a 1:43.0. It was a 1:43.1 for Connor Harrington in second, and you're right, third place is starting to ever so slightly creep backwards. It went to 1.5 seconds. It held 1.6. As you take a look here with Blake Ziti, as he's still getting chased from Jake Potts and Eric Dubé. Those drivers, there hasn't been a whole lot of changes. I mean, the only change we've necessarily seen in the front of this field is Ozzy falling from second to third. Everybody else in this field stayed pretty much stagnant. Where, back to your point, there's not a whole lot of passing points here, except for the downhill portion and the straightaway going into turn one and heading into the downhill slope.
A track like this, what it does emphasize something that I don't think it's practiced often enough in iRacing, at least, which is pit entry and pit exit. There's a lot of time to be gained on pit road entrance and how close you think you can push it, that speed limit, and in pit exit, the same thing. And you can make up a couple of seconds of racetrack time with good entries and exits. And that's where Ozzy could still be in this battle. If he's able to have a faster pit stop or a better entry or exit than Julio Palacio, he will find himself back up there leading like he was last week.
Yeah, it looks like sector-wise, it looks like Ozzy's doing really good in Sector 3 of this racetrack. He's starting to lose or gain some time. He's losing time in Sector 1 and partially Sector 2. You see right here, it jumped back up. He gets off the final corner, and it's just like he kind of just drags back a little bit, but he's staying in the wake. He's staying within, a decent distance here. He's running faster lap times than the drivers in front of him, but the time delta is just not going down for him. But you're right. Pit entry and pit exit here could be the determining factor of who's going to walk away with this race win. And it could ultimately decide who's going to walk away with the championship too.
And you know what? If you're Julio Palacio, Terry, what you really want to do is you want to wrap this up this week. The track next week, Retskugen Motor Center, that's a tough track. That's very, I don't use so crazy, but it's not easy. There's a couple weird turns in that track, and this could be crazy next week, I think, for the finale for PRL F3 season. So I would want to, if I was Julio Palacio, I'd want to have this wrapped up and basically, nicely wrapped and bow tied before we get there next week. So I don't have to worry about it. Let's go back and look at a replay here, though. This is Jake Potts in a 41. That's him on the inside there, that black and blue car. And nice close pass there, man. Just kind of came up and closed that off there and closed the door, and the car's behind him. That's a good pass.
Normally when we see replays and the producer says, let's click to it, it never goes the way it just happened there. Normally it goes the way of they're in a gravel pit, or when they're showing my replays on Wednesday night, it's normally that I've hit the wall or whatever. But I had a good save last night, and that was a good pass right there. As you look at Takeshi Kita, he finally got past Corey Precker for that 10th place position. And we'll see if Brett Thurman can put his way into 11th and then maybe contend. As here comes Thurman, he's going to look to the inside of Corey Precker to driver's right. He's not going to be able to make that pass happen there. But Thurman's having a good charge through this field. Takeshi Kita, very sneaky last season in the IR 4 cars. It's good to see him come up to this series, but he hasn't had the speed that he's necessarily wanted. I think the car feels a little bit different. I'll be interested to pick Keita's brain a little bit. Hopefully he watches the broadcast and sends me a message on Discord. I just want to know how different of a feel the car was to him, because he was dominant, Derek, in the IR04s, not so much over here in the F3.
And that can be a lot of things, Terry. That can be how confident you are in a car. I mean, listen, whether you're driving, a GT3 and LMP2 and F3, your confidence varies from car to car. Then it's about the schedule. Just because you had a dominant season, with PRL following the schedules that iRacing puts out on the official series, you can have good and bad seasons. We all have a moment when we look at a schedule and go, oh, man, like that track, and, whoa, who picked that? Why that? And, let's take a look at replay here real quick, and I'll finish my thought. This is going to be Raymond Dew.
Is this going to be the good one? No, it's not. Okay, so we got bamboozled.
Overall, though, all kidding aside, I mean, that was what we thought was going to happen last time, but that was actually a good save by both drivers. There was there was contact there, but that could have been way worse. I mean, he spun that car around, and if he got tapped, it was barely at all. That could have been like a full T-bone.
So, something happened to Connor Harrington here. He has fell from P2 all the way back to P6, 8.3 seconds off the race lead for the driver with the fastest lap, coming from second all the way back to sixth. And I know that normally, there we go. We're about to get an overhaul of what happened to Connor Harrington. He's coming through. Oh, he just missed the corner.
Yeah.
Oh man. And this isn't a place you want to fall this far behind because you're not going to make up a ton of time.
No, but overall, that was a good place to miss a corner, though, because for some of these corners that are tight or have walls close by, that was a lot of grass there for him to gather it back up and get back on track. So, that's the silver lining of a very dark cloud is, he didn't wreck the car, no walls or anything. Yeah, now he's, 8.4 seconds behind the lead when he was up in P2.
We got to finish your point. You talked about you want Palacio needs to wrap this up here. I'll put a ball over it for a second with you. So put yourself in Ozzie Milwane's position for a second. Do you want? Would you like to go into next week knowing, hey, the championship fight's kind of over? I'm just here.
No, I want to race for the points. I want to keep it close. I mean, right now, obviously, there's just a small difference in them here. Ozzie Milway must be pitting, guessing. He's falling down the leaderboard pretty quickly, and get a word from our producer on the ear maybe and see what's going on there. But no, I would want to. I'd want to think I had a shot, or at least if I have a shot, I'm on. Hold on.
Oh, yes, pit lane. For Ozzie Milwane, pit lane he comes, but I think he had a problem before he did it. Yes, there's the problem. He spins the car, and he's going to back it up, get it spun back around onto pit lane. So he'll come through the runoff area and then get back on the racetrack, and he was like, well, a good chance to come to pit lane, and he just holds her straight right there, comes down, but that's a lot of time lost. I think that right there, Derek, is championship over for our friend over there in the 114 of Ozzie Milwane.
That very well could be. That could be a very detrimental moment. But yeah, I mean, listen, if I'm Ozzie, even no matter what the point gap is next week, I'm just hoping to have a shot at it. And if I have a shot, I'll be practicing this track, or I guess the next track, all week to get it. But yeah, I'd love to have a shot. I want to think I'm racing for something. When you're not racing for anything, it's harder to be motivated because, I mean, the gap, I'm pretty sure, between second and third is unachievable. I'm going to go look at the points in the second and confirm that, but that's the only battle right there for Ozzie, I believe.
Yeah, so he's going to lose a ton of time. It puts him currently 22nd on our board, and he's 43 and a half seconds back. Let's take a look at the battle for 14th with Neil Alexander and James O'Brien. Let's see if maybe we can we can see a good battle set up here.
A storyline we haven't touched on yet, but now we have a curse of our top three maybe going on. First, you saw Andrew Moran. He came into the night third in points, and he had his issues. Then Ozzie, second in points, had his issue. So if you're Julio Palacio,
don't. I wouldn't say that too loud because we tend to jinx people up here quite a bit. So if anybody from the Palacio camp is watching, it's all Derek's fault.
It's at Terry Radford 4 on Twitter.
It's all Derek's fault if something happens to the 194 who has led every lap so far.
Look at that. Real quick. Look at that. There's some tire baiting right there down that straightaway.
Oh, gosh. No, you're good. Yeah, fighting back here. James O'Brien holds this spot. Neil Alexander moves back a position. We'll see now, can Robert Ridgway work his way up here to put himself in the 14th position? Man, this has been, I'm going to say, one of the best races so far, or at least early on. Well, we're almost halfway through.
Yeah, in the sense of clean racing, in the sense of driver staying on the track, maybe one of the best races as far as lead changes and passes. Maybe not your ideal track so far, but I mean, yeah, it's been, as you said, a very eclectic schedule. We saw at the start of the broadcast as far as what it looked like, but I mean, right now Moran is back in P2. has got some drivers behind us. So we'll see what can happen here. Connor Harrington, holding on to that top lap time, by the way.
We'll see right here. We take a look at Jake Potts battling Blake Ziti as Ziti almost gets into the quarter panel. Man, that 50's had one spot handed to him here. The 41 has had a spot handed to him with Ozzie Milwain having his issues. Connor Harrington, he's storming back through this field. He still lost about a second and a half to Palacio as Evan Jones comes down pit lane. Neil Alexander comes down pit lane. We'll see who else wants to come down as well, as we've touched lap 13 of 25. They're going to have to make a stop. If you're Palacio, Moran, or Veraday, do you make it now? As now here comes Ziti to the outside to driver's right. He's not going to be able to make it stick there. Short pit could be a big key here.
It could be a big key. I mean, there's always this philosophy in life that anything you do, you need to be better than, less than, or different than. That's how you determine success in life, is one of those three factors. And right now, these other drivers who pitted early, they're trying to be different than, and they're trying to see if it pays off at the end. I like to run the car dry, especially in a moment like this. You're not going to take tires, I don't think, because of the time remaining. I'd rather run it dry and just kind of see what happens. I like clean pit roads. I like to go in on my own, not have to deal with someone else brake checking me or whatever. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. This is a beautiful battle going on here.
It's a really good battle for the P6 position as Dowden's up there on his own. Got a second or so to get to fourth, and 2 seconds of a gap behind him as they continuously fight here. We're going to see, can Ziti get below him? Yes, as he comes to pit lane. So put Jake Potts to pit lane, put Dowden to pit lane. So your 5th and 6th place drivers are into short pit. That's going to leave your top 6 out. We'll see what Takeshi Kita does. Corey Precker. Kita stays out. A lot of other drivers are going to stay out with them.
I want to put a thought out in the world for a second. It just sort of hit me, and I don't know why. That pit stop that Ozzie Milwain did after his spin, I didn't notice him hit anything, so I don't think he had to pit for damage, but I think that pit stop was a little too early, Terry. Now we're seeing the pit window open and these guys take advantage of it. I would want to think that might have been an early pit stop that might have to lead to Ozzie having to still pit again.
Let's punch that right there. Lap 14, he pitted all the way back on lap 11. So he's three laps on his stint. He did pit for 11.4 seconds. So he has the second slowest time on pit lane from start to finish. He had the longest pit lane delta of everybody with a 32.2. So normally you see it around 25.3, 25 O's. A lot to say. He lost a ton of time on pit lane. So currently the fastest time on the pit circuit was Steven Larkamp, as there's issues on the racetrack.
There are big issues here. Just side-by-side racing through these corners, and wheel contact made, and we saw a driver get a little airborne there, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be off on a wall if we get a view backwards. So is that, someone said it was McPherson? Is that what I heard, Mayors?
Yeah, we take a look right here at the, that was Kevin McPherson, the yellow stripe. He just ran right up on him. Yeah,
apparently their braking points are different, and he ran him over. What's curious to me about that contact, though, Terry, is typically when you run someone over like that, typically the guy you're running over takes more of the damage, but that was not the outcome of that scenario.
Not at all. And you want to talk about the track and braking points being a little different. The braking point has not stopped for our race leader as we take a look at him, because new fastest lap on lap 14 was a 1:42.929. As you see up there at the top, the ATVO fastest lap. That was a flyer. Low fuel. Tires are worn in, and he's figured it out. He has stretched to a tune of 3.5 seconds over Andrew Moran, who's overcome it, drove up here, sitting second, and he's got a 3-second gap all the way back to Steven Veraday, who's sitting third. We'll see when our race leader in the 194 pits, and it's now. So here comes the race leader. Does Moran follow, or does Moran stay out to try to capitalize on a fast lap?
I think this depends on how the car's feeling. The one thing you said earlier that really has stuck with me in this broadcast, though, this track is not slowing down. These guys are, obviously I know low fuel matters in open wheel car racing, but still these guys are laying it down. Lap 14, more than halfway through the race. And then you see him up in the front pit stall. It's the benefit you get of qualifying first. Very quick 5.3 in the box and a 25, almost a 26 pit lane delta. That's a good time there.
And he's going to fall in, if my math is correct, second. So he lost no time. Takeshi Kita has not pitted yet. Andrew Moran pitted right behind him. He's going to slot in fourth. So that's going to set this race up. If Palacio has an issue, Andrew Moran is there to capitalize. It is now, it has grown just a tad bit. It's roughly 3.6 seconds. Once we flip all this and Veraday pits and Kita pits, and we get our top two back to what we had, as we go all the way back to the 9th place position with Blake Ziti, who has come down. So only a handful of drivers have not pitted. It's Varaday, Kita, Precker, and O'Brien have not come down pit lane so far, with James Carter, Swindles. They're both coming in this lap. They're currently on pit lane at this time for their required service that they have. But to your point about Ozzie Milwane in the 114, did he get enough fuel in it? Because I think you're right. That pit time, maybe, just maybe, he was just a little bit too early, because he's 5 laps on it while everybody else just started pitting now.
All right. Now the danger we see on the track at the moment here, obviously Veraday is going to pit right now. You see it on the ticker on the left-hand side of your screen. But as we have Takeshi Kita, Corey Precker, James O'Brien in P7 who've not pitted yet, when you're trying to get around a car and you've just pitted and they're still out there on old tires, they're low on gas, they're whatever they have going on, it's a challenge to get around those cars, because maybe the fuel loads are different, the braking points are different, your confidence is different. Maybe you're trying to baby the car around to make sure you don't run out of gas. This is probably the most dangerous part of a road race for me, is this moment in between pit cycles and making sure nothing weird happens.
I think what's going to be really weird for our normal commentary team here on Thursday night is when they come back next week, unless it's us, and then I think we will kind of understand the scenario that's happened here. Is that the championship fight, in my opinion, is over. Palacio wins this race. He's got max points. He's led the most laps. He's led a lap. He had the fastest lap. He's on track to win the race. And barring an issue in the next 16 minutes or the laps, we're on lap 17. For goodness sakes, we are flying around this racetrack. We might beat this time by a good bit. But at the end of the day, because I'm only showing we have 14 minutes left in this race, we're going to beat the time by a solid minute and a half. And if if Palacio keeps laying the time that he is, we might knock that thing down quite a ton.
Let's back up a second. Something you said. I know what you meant when you said our normal commentary team next week. Listen, there's nothing normal about Joey, first off. Let's just get that out of the way first off. I love him. I've worked with him. There's nothing normal about the guy, okay? So let's stop there. Some of his food thoughts are a little eccentric, to be nice about it. But yeah, this is going to be a very different scenario next week, as far as this could be very well wrapped up for Julio Palacio. He said the pole and led a lap and looks to be possibly finishing first here. Next week could really just be fun. The real battle next week is going to be that battle between, is it Michael Dowden, Lucas Hill, Neil Alexander, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's possibly the battle we'll focus on next week, because that'll be mere points apart still.
We'll be interested to see what we have. You take a look at Robert Ridgway right here, trying to potentially catch James O'Brien right here. They're separated by about 4 tenths of a second. Puts them there. Robert's doing a good job here in the 007 in the P13 position. Can he catch up there to 12th and pull away with this? But, man, this has been a really, really solid race from start to finish. All of these drivers have just been on point. We haven't seen very many off tracks either. I mean, incident-wise, it has been fairly tame for one of these road races.
Yeah, it has been fairly tame for a road race, and I was kind of looking through the points on my side monitor here. I mean, Michael Dowden up in 5th. He's one of those 4 drivers who was tied up in that point battle we focused on in the opening, so he'll come out ahead of that. But Kevin McPherson was about 20 points ahead of them, and I believe he had some issues earlier, so it could be a 5-way battle next week for basically 4th through 8th or 9th to finish off the season. That was easy for me to say.
Well, this
heck was that?
I mean,
one of the curses of being a commentator is sometimes the mouth runs about 3 times the speed of the brain, and eventually you just get backlogged, and you're just like, oh no.
And people say that our job is easy. That comes all the time. Somebody at my job was like, I bet it's easy for you to talk about certain things. And it's like, well, you have to set yourself up for the next point, and then you actually have to listen. Like one of my bosses told another coworker, she said, you talk to respond, you don't listen to hear me. And it's always funny to hear that as you take a look at the replay. Here's Connor Harrington, who fell through the field again. He's all the way back to 15th. Another issue it seems to be is caught the throttle too quick and power slid it, but he saved it.
Didn't even get an off track.
No, but he's down on pit lane.
I'd have been off on the oval something if that had happened to me.
Well, it couldn't be no worse than my Long Beach experience. I catapulted above the fountain, so it's doable.
Yeah, the hardest part of it being a commentator, ask us to do math. Oh my gosh. Ask us to do math, and it's just no.
Yeah, it's funny to hear Joey do math. He enjoys to do it, but when I did the races with him for PRL on Wednesday nights, I would have to do math, which is scary in its own thing. So I would have a piece of paper next to me, and I would just jot down numbers and try to figure out the problem while I'm trying to call the race. It never worked for me. I was always wrong. But you take a look at the smoothness here from our race leader, Julio Palacio, who's just doing a marvelous job around this 14-turn road course, utilizing every square inch of this racetrack from the turtles all the way over to the right side, to the left side. Really good switchbacks. He's actually starting to catch some lap traffic, which is crazy to think here as well. Some cars that have been off-road a couple times in this race. You saw one up in the distance in the last camera shot. He's just on one, and I think when we talk to him, Derek, we're going to say, congrats on your championship.
Yeah, I mean, very likely. Now, one thought I had that you kind of made a point of earlier is he is laying down some laps and really setting a pace here. Man, if I was Julio Palacio, I have roughly a 4-second lead on Andrew Moran. We're 10 minutes left. I might just, let up a little bit, play this conservative, but I mean, he is not. He is all over it. He's still putting down good laps. So you see all the way to the inside of that corner. It's going to track back out here.
I think the one thing I've learned from the road racing side of things is if a road driver backs off, like in NASCAR, everybody wants to save their tires. Everybody wants to save in different cars. So across the iRacing platform, everybody just wants to play conservative until about 10 to go or during the longer, and they want to go for it. But in a road series, they're like, I'm 100% every single lap, because the moment somebody backs off the throttle just a little bit, they lose their rhythm. And I've always found that to be funny and fascinating. We have a driver off there. That's I think that's Shalaby.
Yeah, speaking of losing the rhythm, right there out of that corner, just got a little too wide, and the driver from Georgia, the number 14 machine, just went ahead and got it saved and back on track though.
But what saves by these drivers here this afternoon? I mean, that was phenomenal to even get the car woed down and stopped before you went off into the grass, into the skatey stuff that we have here. As you see Gavin Ray trying to make the pass for P15 on Neil Alexander here. You got to do the 3-car proud, Gavin. I mean, that's normally where it finishes on Wednesdays, so that's right on par. Just you got to do a little bit better than me.
Only a little bit. Don't show him up or anything. Just a little bit.
Yeah, don't make me look bad.
Ooh.
Here it is. Oh, just a lockup.
Well, you know what's interesting about that though, Terry, is before this happened to the lockup, see that corner before, he was not comfortable in the corner before either. See that him rocking that wheel back and forth, so he was having a hard time. That wasn't a one-off corner by any means. That's a difficult night for somebody right there.
Got 8 minutes and 42 seconds remaining, or 4 laps, whichever one comes first. I believe, yeah, we'll put the lap counter up there because we're going to most definitely make it to the laps, as we're currently showing 7 minutes remaining of this race. And Julio's throwing down just splendid lap times. His last time by, he was barely faster than Andrew Moran. It was a 1:43.568, and that last lap when they came across the line, Andrew Moran is 0.2 of a second faster. It was a 1:43.3 flat to a 1:43.568. So the driver in the 99 might have something to say if Palacio slips up. This race is not over. Anything could happen in 14 turns, as Robert Ridgway is trying to hold off Corey Precker. And Corey's aggressive. I hope he hears this, because it is true. I raced with him. He is aggressive. As we actually, I believe this is Robert Ridgway with the VR headset on here. That's Precker. That's Corey Precker. I hope he's listening. Corey's one of the most aggressive drivers I have ever raced with, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But if you, he tamed down quite a bit throughout the season.
Yeah, watching here and watching the steady head there in the VR. That's always good to see. Obviously looking around, but for the most part, a very steady head, a very steady view is what that means. You're not like rocking around back and forth like you're on a roller coaster. So it's always good to see. But nice smooth inputs. Look at that wheel there in his hands. Not a lot of battling, just kind of looking at smooth inputs, ready to go. So you can tell he's having an easy night with this setup because he's not fighting it that hard. There's no seesawing on that wheel or hard turns one way or the other.
It has pretty much been helpful. The track temp, it seems to have been very mellow for a lot of these drivers, not fighting the heat in the racetrack. As you look there, we go to a full screen as Steven Veraday has now set the fastest lap time with a 1:42.907. Would put him just a little bit faster. Call it 0.13 of a second has put him there in that P1 spot for the fastest lap. So potentially not max points for the driver of the 194, but it's a very good night. It is a 6-spot gap all the way back to Ozzie Milwane, who currently at the moment has no shot pace-wise to pick up 2.5 seconds up to Jake Potts to put himself in 6th.
No, but listen, here's the positive for Ozzie Milwane, though. Assuming he can stay out on track for these last 2.25 laps, he's moved up a lot from where he started after that pit stop and after that spin. I mean, he was down out of the top 10. He's up to 7th right now, so maybe not going to be the best day he wanted, but a definite solid recovery, to put himself in that spot. So assuming he can stay out on track and save enough gas and that happens, then that's still going to be kind of a good day. Let's take a look here at Gavin Ray. See on the track here. And he's going to loop it.
Too much
here.
Gas.
That's our first wall hit of the night, I think.
I think it is. I think that is the first true touch of the wall for the 3 of Gavin Ray. See, that's
doing the Wednesday 3 proud right there.
That's on that. That's on par for what the 3-car does in the Wednesday night Xfinity Series right here on RaceSpotTV. And well, before we end the show, since we got a lap to go, you can catch all the PRL action Sunday through Thursday right here on RaceSpotTV. You can check our awesome live upcoming feeds for what next week is. We'll be in Charlotte. So we'll race at the home of NASCAR and catch GT3s, some F3 series, some production cars. There's a lot of stuff. The Cup Series, me and you'll be doing Sunday. That'll be a fun time in Texas. As you take a look at Julio Palacio here, we would assume, and we know what happens when we assume, but this is a good assumption, is that the 194 is going to win the championship based off of tonight's performance. Not max points, but still got it.
Yeah, I don't like to assume because Umi's a really nice guy. I hate to do that to him, but yeah, it's hard. But I mean, right now it looks pretty wrapped up as we're about to take our white flag here and see what happens.
He's going to come through here, get down to the last couple portions of this racetrack, and you got a car off track there. It's going to move out of the way, allow Palacio to get this run down the hill. Not going to interfere with our race finish here.
Sorry, I was going to caught up, but this is the one difference from last week's finish at Imola is because it's a bigger track and wider. Last week when Joey and I were here in the booth, we saw lap traffic. Oh, was that?
Pit lane.
Okay. Sorry, the way that car zoomed off the screen there, I was like, oh, okay. No, I was going to say, though, is lap traffic played a really big part in the end of the race last week. And obviously, Ozzy still won, but they closed that gap for the lead because of this lap traffic being there. But obviously, this week is much different. How big the track is, how wide it is. And so it's not as big of a factor as it was last week.
Shockingly enough, Blake Ziti just comes down pit lane from the 5th place position. That's going to give a spot to Ozzy Milwane. That is questionable.
That means that someone didn't fuel their car all the way in the pit stop. I mean, only you see there on the screen, only a 3.7 stop, just enough to splash it to the end. So someone tried to be a little aggressive on their fuel math and a little locking the tires there on the white flag lap. No reason not to race hard in the last lap, I guess. This is Neil Alexander racing here, by the way.
Yeah, that is it's interesting. But you see right here, Julio Palacio to a tune of 3.587 seconds. Puts him in the race lead. He's getting ready to work the final sector of this racetrack. His closest competition is Andrew Moran, but his championship rival all the way back, mired in 6th after some trouble here this afternoon where he spins it out, has to back up, comes down pit lane. Only a couple more corners to go here for the driver of the 194. Can he close it out and make this a makeup from last week where he comes home P2 into the S's for the final time here this afternoon? Julio Palacio comes across the start-finish line, your winner at Twin Ring Motegi in the PRL F3 Series with Andrew Moran coming home P2.
What a dominant race. And obviously I know that, Julio Palacio's had an amazing season, so it's not surprising by any means, but still a great race, a very clean race. And as you said, these guys broke the time limit. They broke the clock, I should say. We don't often see that in timed races on anywhere on the iRacing service.
Yeah, we don't. We try to we race directly to the time on Wednesdays. You take a look right here at some of our other finishers who are going to come across this line. It's this was the last little portion of this race.
Dude, that's a classic old-fashioned Forza video right there with the synchronized spin. You could have submitted that to Turn 10 Studios for a nice video back in the day.
We might have to do that as you take a look here. I believe that's Robert Ridgway who comes across the line. Take a look at a couple other drivers that are coming across here for their checkered flag moment. Not the finish that a lot of these drivers wanted outside the top 10, outside the top 15. McPherson, who had that late race pit stop right in front of the race leader, he's going to slot home 22nd, 2 laps down. Here comes Gavin Ray in 19th. James Carter will follow him with Richard Swindells. Will come across the line in 20th and 21st, respectively, as they're trying to wrap up their laps here We'll take a look at our race results here after 25 laps around. They called it Motegi in the opening. Julio Palacio takes the win. Andrew Moran P2, Stephen Veraday in third, Michael Dowden, Jake Potts, Ozzie Milwane all the way back in sixth with Eric Dubai, and then Takeshi Kita, Robert Ridgway, and Blake Ziti after that late race pit stop P10. Corey Precker, James O'Brien, Evan Jones, Stephen Larkamp, Max Shabley, I'll say that correctly, Neil Alexander, Barry Cochran, Brett Thurman, Gavin Ray, and James Carter rounds out top 20. And our last car on the lead lap was Richard Swindells with Kevin McPherson, Connor Harrington, Ryan Reeves, Raymond Doe, and Lucas Hill rounds out your field a couple laps down with Stephen Faraday setting your fastest lap on lap 22. Looks like we were waiting on our race winner, but while we do, we'll give Derek the floor here with P2 of Andrew Moran.
Andrew, good run tonight. Very solid job in a P2. Lots of carnage around you. What was your overall thoughts on the race tonight?
I was just, it's unfortunate when the guys in front of you, take themselves out, but, it's also good for me. So I'm pretty happy with the P2 there, keeping variety from catching me there too. It was nice.
Yeah, very good run overall. Is this what you expected coming into the week, or is this a track that you enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much expect top 5 every time, but it's not easy to do it because there's a lot of good competition. Obviously with Ozzy and Julio they were so close in the championship coming into it. But we knew pretty sure we had a decent setup and that we would be competitive at least. So P2 is great. I'll do it again next week.
Awesome. I was going to ask you, so we're off to one last race in this season. What are your thoughts as we head into the last race?
Gotta work on setups again. I mean, I know in this race the setup was solid, but there's setups out there that are even faster. So we just gotta keep working to find the right setup and build on it. So, all
right, well, it was a good, smooth, consistent run tonight. Congrats on P2.
Thank you very much.
All right, now it's Andrew Moran, and I now believe that Terry has caught up with our race winner.
Yeah, we'll grab our race winner, Julio Palacio. And Julio, what a dominating performance you had here. You imagine you won the championship, but are you going to put the cart before the horse?
No. One race at a time. I knew I had to kind of give it a good run here. I know it was a tough track, but it's kind of one that I got some practice on. I was ready, had a good set. It was really just getting through those first few laps because the car on cold tires, I couldn't turn, I couldn't do anything. So it was really tough. But yeah, it's great. Feel awesome.
Well, you sure made it look like you could turn any which way you wanted with no issues whatsoever. But one race to go. Are you just going to go out there and just kind of throw it out all on the line? Because, I mean, from our perspective, we think you won it. Ozzy finished in 6th after some issues here this afternoon. Are you just going to breathe a sigh of relief in the season finale, just, going out there just having a little bit more fun?
Yeah, I mean, the last few races, I was doing a little bit of points racing. It's tracks that I really felt I couldn't push very hard on, and this was a track I felt that I could push hard on. So yeah, I just really want to go out there and race and have fun. I mean, it depends how much practice I can get during the week and everything, but we still got to race, we still got to finish. Ozzy's done a great job, in terms of racing with me the whole season. So I got to show up, I got to race, and I got to do the best that I can do.
All right, one final question. This is completely off racing topic. Give me your best Joey Tebbin impersonation.
My best who?
Oh, exactly. That was perfect. That's all I wanted to hear. Julio, congratulations on P1. Led every single lap except when you went on pit lane, obviously. But congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks to you guys at Broadcast and PRL for a great league, and my teammates at SRT. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you, sir. That's Julio Palacio, P number 1. And, well, Derek, your work's not over because you got Stephen Veraday, who finished P3.
That's all right. I'm excited for the Stephen. Great run tonight. You finished P3 coming into tonight's race. What was your expectations? Steven, are you there? Saw icons move for a second.
Sorry, guys. One
there
sec.
you are.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
I
on.
had the wrong audio setting on. It was going through my butt kicker, so I could feel your voice.
Well, that's the first time I've been told that.
In my body, but I couldn't hear it in my ears.
That's
So.
a new experience for me.
Yeah, me too.
So what I was asking was, wow, I'm a little flattered. P3 tonight, coming into the race, was that your expectation, or what were your hopes coming into this race?
I mean, honestly, I thought I had pretty good pace around here. I was hoping for a win. I did not have Julio's pace though. However, so I was a little disappointed in that. And then a bit of a sloppy race on my part. Few like 310s here, 310s there mistakes that ultimately made the difference in the end. But it was fun.
Yeah, solid race. I was kind of staring at some unofficial points here, and I think you might find yourself in a battle for the top 10 in points next week. How does that sound compared to how your season's been?
Oh, I actually haven't looked at the points. I've missed a handful of races, so I assumed I was way out of it. But yeah, I just enjoy kind of turning up and racing, and I guess the points kind of sort themselves out if I can manage to have some good races. So that's really my focus, but top 10's nice.
All right. So next week, to me, is the hardest track on the schedule for this series at the Muskogee Motor Center. Have you put a lot of laps into it? Are you excited about it? Are you nervous about it? Talk us ahead a week.
I've only raced there for 1 week in the officials. I feel like I figured it out, and I've felt pretty comfortable there in the end. I do recall it being very tricky. I recall a super off camber downhill left-hander that always caught me out. So I'll have to put some practice in. But yeah, I'm always looking forward to it. So right. I'll be there.
Cool. Well, solid run tonight. And congrats on P3.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, Terry, it's been a very quick night, and I mean that simply in the pace of the cars on track. It was very fast laps and a very fun race to be a part of.
Yeah, it absolutely has, and it stinks that we have to close the show, but you can catch us Sunday. We'll be here 8:30 Eastern Standard Time for the NASCAR Cup Series at Texas. Muskogee Motor Center will be May 25th, 2023 at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time right here on RaceSpotTV for Derek Watson, for Raphael Sancu, and I hope I said that one correctly. I'm Terry Radford. We'll see you Sunday evening for some more PRL action right here on RaceSpotTV. Good night, everybody.